When removing the background from an object, depending on the difference in color and tone between the subject and the background, as well as the color and tone on the image that it's going to be blended with, a small halo might appear along the edge of the object. Now, this document has two layers. It has the tools on the white background and the paper layer. I also just want to point out that the direction of light is actually coming from the right side here. And we can see that because we can see the shadow on the left. So we'll just keep that in mind for a moment. Now, I want to make a selection of the tools. So I'll choose Select and then Select Subject. But if I add a mask right now, by using the mask icon at the bottom of the Layers panel, we can see this halo going around the tools. So I'm going to undo that using Command Z. And before I add my layer mask, I'm going to choose Select and then Select and Mask. I want to change the view for a moment to black and white so that we can look at what we're doing when we use some of these global refinement options. Right now, we can see that the mask is primarily black or white. So if I'm trying to shift the edge to get rid of that halo, as I move it to the left or to the right, the slider isn't making a very large change. What I need to do is I need to add a little bit of a feather so that I have some different levels of gray so that I can then shift the edge in or out to a larger degree. All right, let's see what this looks like against the layers. So I'll select that view. And then we can see that I have far too great of a feather. So I'll reduce that. And now, as I shift the edge to the left, we can choke the mask, meaning that it's going to move the mask inward. And if I move it to the right, we can see that it actually expands or spreads the mask. So now I just need to find the right balance between shifting the edge and the amount of feather, because I don't want the feather to be too soft or my edge is going to be too soft along the tools. So I'm going to decrease that maybe around 3 pixels or so. And then I can shift the edge. And in this case, I'm going to shift it all the way to -100. All right, as far as the output settings go, in this case, I can output this directly to a layer mask. I'll click OK. But the tools don't look like they're sitting on top of the paper. In order to do that, I'm going to need to add a drop shadow. So at the bottom of the layers panel, I'll click the effects icon and choose drop shadow. I'll reposition the layer style window and I can change the angle as well as the distance by using these sliders, or we can just click and drag in the image area to reposition it. And remember, at the beginning, we noticed that the light was coming from this direction. So I want to make sure that the drop shadow falls to the lower left of the tools. I'll go ahead and increase the size just a little bit, and maybe take down the opacity. And then to give a little bit of color contrast between the tools and the paper, I'll select the paper layer and then add a hue and saturation adjustment layer. And I'll move the hue around until I get a nice contrasting blue color. Excellent. So the next time you need to refine the edges of a mask, you can see that Photoshop's select and mask features offer a number of different ways to smooth and sharpen and choke and spread the edges of a mask.